What up, guys? Welcome back to another replay analysis. Today I'll be looking at a TvZ. I seem to have only done TV P and TV and PVT apparently, but now we're gonna be looking at a TvZ, and this is gonna be kind of low GM / contender level, about 5.2, 5.3 k MMR on the NA ladder. Here we have L versus Barcode, so I versus the L's, or uppercase versus lowercase. But yeah, I believe this guy is TwitchChatGM on Twitch. He sent me this replay, so I'm going to be looking at it. There's a couple of things that we could slightly adjust or improve, and especially we're going to be talking about Submarine a lot, particularly as a map, and how that kind of works around with our composition and the opponent's composition. Alrighty, so first of all, we're going to have a Marine opener here against the Hatch first, pretty standard out of the Zerg. And we're going to take our gas here at 20 after dropping the command center. Okay, cool. So we're going to have two Marines here. And the job of the Marines is to look for the Overlord. Now, the thing about this map is that a lot of times when you do this kind of Marine opening to catch Overlords, you kind of want to do it on slightly bigger maps, just slightly, because this is the smallest one in the pool, because the Overlords are still on their way to their Overlord spot. This one already gets here in time. And really, you can't do this opening without killing a Overlord. I don't think, otherwise all of a sudden this opening is really not worth it in my opinion. So right now you're going for a 3 Marine opening. I think I'd much prefer you simply using this barracks right now to just spot this Overlord and kill it right now, because Zerglings are not even out yet, so there's not really any chance of well, I mean, there could have been Zerglings on the way. I think he just kind of skipped them. But yeah, he just kind of went for drones directly. So no, they are just on the way. Basically, yeah. So yeah, I mean, lifting a barracks, unless he literally 12 pulls you, I don't think he's gonna have Zerglings already there protected, so you can definitely kill that Overlord, and that's gonna stunt him quite a bit, right? He's gonna have to make a whole other Overlord, and you can be pretty safe from there. So now, this is gonna be slightly. You're still looking for Overlords because you didn't get it, and this guy obviously saw your Marines very early, so very smartly he did place all of his Overlords as soon as possible to all of the pillar locations. So this one here. So I think it's really worth it to just take one of those, skip one of these Marines, and simply go and kill this, especially around 2 minutes, because your the Zerglings aren't even out yet. The other thing I don't like too much about this build is that you really you haven't scouted out at all so far. And one of the main rules of the Reaper is not just, kind of early pressure, or it's not trying to kill drones or Zerglings, because that doesn't really normally happen at this level. Really, the goal is to spot for the third base, and also spot for any kind of roach spawn or early baneling nest. And with this build, I feel like you don't have that at all. In fact, if we even move forward right now, well, you finally see the links, but we don't even know the timing of the third base. And the timing of the third base is one of the most important things you can have in terms of information to be able to read what your opponent's doing. A 235 third base is very much different from a 246 third base, which is very different from a 250. Well, it's not very different from a 252, but it's going to be extremely different from a 320 third base, especially, right? So right now you have no idea the timing of this third base. So you don't know where he can potentially be investing his stuff. And it's we're approaching already 330 right now. And as we all know, link speed finishes at 330, which is why I just mentioned it. And the wall isn't even done yet. You don't really know what's going on. Has he made a whole bunch of more links? Is there a roach one or anything? I feel like you should at least incorporate an SCV scout with this opening. I do think it's completely fine to do this. I've seen people do this at very high levels. Sniping the Overlord, it can be very, very annoying for the Zerg player. And but as long as you do kill the Overlord, and that most of the time requires you to lift the barracks to do that. The only maps where I would not do that is probably a map let's say Death Aura, where the the pillar for the Overlord is very, very far away from the natural. So I'd probably just advise maybe not to do it on that map particularly. Otherwise, I think most maps is fine. Totally, yeah. Cool. He even got Overlord speed, this guy. Oh my god. Yeah, and definitely incorporate an SCV scout and try to aim for the third base. You know, around like that 250-ish mark, because um, you're gonna be able to know like if it's when you arrive at 250, either it's down or it's not down, and you know from there it's like, okay, well, if it's already down, cool, you got your information. Should be a pretty standard game. If it's down at like 320, it's like, well, you have no pressure. Why didn't you take your third base already? And of course, if it's past 330, you're getting cheesed the fuck out of, or he's going two base muta, or like two base nidus or something, right? So yeah. Cool. Another thing that's going to be coming up right now, very much like this Overlord here. I love, especially the fact that you force the ball onto pillars. Means that he thinks he's safe, so, you know, getting a Viking. I think getting Viking is always good in any situation. One of the things I would have loved to see here, so you're going for a double engineering bay, you're going for a stim with, you know, tanks as well. And I'm going to get back to tanks on this map, because I think that's going to be the main point of this video. So we're going to be seeing that you're going to be slightly starved for gas here. And you're not going to be able to start that second upgrade fast enough, because you're starting a tank, you know, we got stim on the way, we've got more reactors, you know. So probably one of the small adjustments you could have made this game is that, you know, you've started these gases at 450. Maybe if you wanted to like really go for that double upgrade and have the gas for it, as you can see, you're kind of starved. Probably just make yourself a mental note and probably just start them about 20 seconds earlier. So probably around 430. It's a very easy benchmark to remember. So we can use that as a benchmark next time, just so you can have enough gas. One of the other things I would have loved to see, and it would have been a really cool twist to this build, but it would have to be a stim combat shield 1-1, because that can just put so much pressure. It's such a power spike to have 1-1 and these two upgrades for your Marines, right? Because basically your Marines have already achieved their final form, especially with medevac drops. Now, in terms of the timings, I'm sure you probably are pretty familiar with this, but, you know, upgrades are level 1 upgrades for infantry, you know, weapons and armor, is 114 seconds. Stim is very easily rememberable. It's 100 seconds, because it's 100, you know, gas and minerals, and combat shells is 79 seconds. So if you want to get kind of any sort of timing down, either it be, you know, this 1-1 plus stim combat shields, or you want to do like any sort of timing, you know, about these sort of upgrades together, well, you can kind of have mental note that, you know, you start your 1-1, about 10-15 seconds later, you start your stim, and then about 10-15 seconds later, you can start your combat shields, and it should be about, it should come all together pretty much at once. So, so yeah, sometimes what will happen though, if you're on a single tech lab, is that you're gonna have to start stim a lot earlier, right? And when it's halfway done, then you start your 1-1, and then, you know, if you queue combat shields on top of your stim, then you're gonna have a timing there. But I would have loved to see this. It would have been, I think, a really cool twist here actually, to get stim combat shields on top of 1-1. I think it would have been a very cool power spike, especially with the fact that this creep thread is not too far out yet. Yes. Instead, what you do is that, you know, instead of just getting combat shields, which you could have done, you had to gas for sure, you decide to just drop it off, make another reactor, and this tech lab here is going to be kind of useless for the next while. We could the next thing that's going to be put on here is probably either going to be a factory or a barracks, which I'm not even sure when you drop that. I think it's going to be a barracks, but very much later on, you know. So yeah, very early command center. I love this. Very cool. I love this single Liberator as well. That's also one of the reasons why you didn't have enough gas too, is because you were going for Liberator. And I do like single Liberators. I think they're a very, very good addition to you know, the early game. Like Liberators always keep the Zerg honest, you know, with their map awareness. So I do like it. Cool. One of the other things too, I always get so nervous when I see factories, you know, that produce this big clunky tanks to be like next to add-ons like this. I'm like, oh, dude, this is like something stuck waiting to happen. You know what I mean? So you can kind of just remember, you know, mental note on this map. You can probably do 4 layers, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. Trying to stick them together too close, right? This makes me nervous. Every time I see a factory like this, surrounded by buildings and add-ons, I'm like, dude, I'm nervous for your tanks right now. And I believe later on some Widow Mines get stuck actually, so try to be a little bit careful with that. Creep sped, not too far out of control, so it's fine. You're gonna have 1-1, double medevac drop. We're gonna be going for that clear right now, and you know, combat shell's a little bit behind, you know, as well as the 1-1, and we probably could have had them both here, but but that's fine as well, you know. I mean, we're just trying to clear creep, so it should be good. This guy's going for a bailing droplet because he's an absolute madman. Literally Cyril. I'm not too sure about suiciding the Viking here to try and kill, you know, minerals or drones. It's probably it's not gonna happen. There's always gonna be queen. If you were to like, if you were thinking like, okay, my Viking's useless right now, what can I do? Instead of just going for drones, honestly, which is kind of useless, I think it'd be much more worth it to just use that as like a hallucinated phoenix and literally just fly through the main base like this. I think that would be much better use than landing it, killing maybe a drone, which doesn't matter, and you know, in exchange for like the entire cost of a Viking. I think just scouting with the Viking would actually bring you more information, worth information, than just landing it and be like, yeah. Because I do get it, you know, at one point, like, there's no more overloads on the map. It's like, well, what do I do with this Viking? It's useless. I'd rather much use that as a hallucinated Phoenix style of suicide instead of just behind a mineral line where it probably won't do much. So cool, so cool. Oh, shit. Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Ah, yes. Okay, so this bailing drop is gonna come in. What I like about this map, is the third base. Third base is actually kind of cool. So whenever you're setting up a defense around like a third base, we're always trying to think about, okay, well, where am I running SCVs running to? Because SCVs always need an escape pack, which is why I am religiously against triangle third bases on Everdream, because it's a terrible triangle third base, which I might get into in another video. So one of the things we can do here, since we're going siege tanks, obviously the 4 depot wall, always going to be very, very good. And let's see where SCVs are trying to go here. So let's say there's a big bailing attack here, bailing counterattack with a run by or whatever. They're going to be going for the SCVs. Now, if you're smart, as a Zerg player, right, you're going to be sending the bailings this way if you can, because if the SCVs have to run this way, they're going to be trapped. Just like if you were to go into to a Protoss's second base with Hellions, you kind of want to walk your Hellions this way, so that if they need to pull away, they're going to be stuck behind a wall. If you're sending your Hellions here, the probes can just escape to the main base. A little bit of a similar situation here. So they need to escape this way, right? So what do we do? What we can do in terms of like the tank depot defense is just put our 4 depots here. That's already going to soak up a lot of stuff, of damage. Either it be Zerglings or Banelings. And then our tank, I would much rather place it here. Because what's going to happen is he's going to have 2 options. One, he's going to, or maybe even farther down here, or maybe here, you know, which is going to be a little bit more vulnerable to mutas, but I mean, I think that's fine. Because he's not going mutas, and we've scouted that. If you were to like run in with Banelings and run this way, and the tank is here, well then that's just free shots right there until he gets your mineral line, in which case you still clean it up. On the flip side, if he's like, okay, I'm going to kill this. Oh shit, there's a tank here. I'm going to attack the tank. He's going to be going to the south side here with all of his units. Or he's going to try to attack the tank or aggro towards the tank. And then since he's going this way, you can all of a sudden take your SCVs and use that escape route. If the Zerg is crazy and he's a laser, or like very much higher level, if you were for the Zerg side, then of course you would attack the tank, and you would split off the other half and go this way. But I think if you're just doing it like a Baneling run by, I think just using this here, tank on the left, take the aggro away from the escape path. I think that's a pretty general rule that could be pretty nice to apply to a lot of game situations. Don't take triangle third bases on Everdream because there's no answer on that map. It's a terrible triangle third base, please. Okay. Cool. Hell yeah. All right, cool. We're taking an on-base location here. On location 4th base. I can do this. Okay. We're doing this. We're doing this. When is this appropriate? Well, here I'd say it's passable because we are going for this double drop here. Now, obviously, nobody should take a 4th base unless you have pressure on the map. Obviously, this is at a level where I think this is totally fine for sure because he's already dealing with 2 drops here, so his army is very much occupied. But if you think about it, most of the defense is here at the 3rd base. You don't have much army at home. It's all into pressure. So, you know, if his army just shows up, this is a free cancel. However, I do think there is enough pressure on the map to be able to do this. I would much actually prefer to have, you know, a parade push or some sort of big push and have this on location rather than 2 drops that can probably easily be repelled by most of what the Zerg has. But the thing is that, I don't think this is a level where you're going to have, you know, army enough. He's going to be able to split his army efficiently where he goes, okay, I have enough army to defend against this double drop. I have enough army to defend against this double drop. Cool, I have leftover units. Let's see what kind of counterattack I can do. Oh shit, I just found an on-base location, 4th base. I can't do this. On location, 4th base. I don't think this is at the level where he has the attention span or level to do that. I think at higher levels, though, it's going to be a little bit more dangerous to do this on location. Obviously, so much space right here. I don't know if you can fit a command center here, but you can definitely fit a command center here. Yeah, I think it's a little bit dangerous. I think it's acceptable at this level, but I think once you reach higher levels and he's like, okay, I can deal with this easily, he might be looking to, you know, any sort of counterattack, I feel, would be very strong against this. So at least maybe rally the rest of your units here or something like that. But yeah. Also, when you're taking a 4th base like this, I really love it when people take a sensor tower as at the 3rd at the same time as taking their 4th base, because then they can allocate a lot more resources to defending this while having a lot of vision to prepare for any attack here. So yeah, we need a wall here versus Zergling. This is not even a wall. I don't know what's happening. Phew. Creep spread very under control. Really, really well done. Zerg is not happy about this. Oh, lol. Very good thing. Yeah, the only thing that the wall here would be countered by is like a Baneling drop, yeah. Not bad, not bad, not bad. Good dropperinos. Do we have no, we don't have concussive shells. I think concussive shells is always really good. Obviously right now you don't have marauders, but I think as soon as you like flip the switch on that you're gonna make marauders, definitely go for concussive shells, because just like, you know, when you want to slow down the zealots, you kind of want to slow down the banelings as well. So I think it's a really good upgrade to have. Right now we haven't really quite transitioned to that phase, but yeah. Is it time to no, I don't want to talk about it right now. I'm going to talk about it very soon, though. Awesome shit. Alright, let me just... the fuck is this Thor, dude? This Thor is so useless versus literally everything he has. But, you know, it's a cool unit, let's be real. Let's talk about the factories right now. So these 2 are stuck, cause yeah, I guess so. One of the things I would have loved to see here, especially on this map, I think I'm going to talk about it right now, but it's going to be 2 factory with tech labs right now. Obviously, this tech lab has been useless for a long time, but 2 factory tech labs, you can still remember that you can still do double Widow Mine. But what you can do is really get your tank count a lot faster. The reason why tanks are so amazing on this map, not only is it because, you know, first of all, he's going Hydra, but on top of that, if you notice the last fight, there's so many amazing tank spots, like right here, right here, right here. Anywhere where there's a corner, a tank is really good. Like a tank right here covers this, 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 and this. A tank right here covers this, 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 and this. Like, tanks are so amazing on this map, and really just getting your tank count more up is going to be really, really good. Not only that, but one of the weaknesses of the tank that makes it exploitable is that it's quite slow moving, right? It's slow moving, you have to siege it, it's not very mobile, but this gets mitigated by the map Submarine itself, because the map is pretty small compared to other maps like, you know, Isenchrome and stuff. So repositioning tanks is a little bit complicated, but here, you know, going for a lot of tanks is going to be really easy. I mean, traveling from here to like the middle of the map, like literally this is from here to the middle of the map. This is the middle of the map, like, and it's, look at all these amazing siege tank positions behind rocks, behind everything. Really a big fan of siege tanks on here, and I think if you would have just took the time here to just double factory and get your 60 siege tanks up really fast, and then just going into mass widow mine from there, I think that would have been really amazing. And really just slowly abuse the fact that they can hit so many things at the same time and just pick off slowly but surely all the banelings. Now, if you have 2 factories with the tech labs, you know, you can get the 6 siege tanks in no joke, a minute and a half. A siege tank build time is 32 seconds, so it's going to take you a minute and 36 seconds to be able to get 6 siege tanks. Then you're good. Just going to mass widow mines, and you know, a lot of times people get kind of stuck in the mindset of, I have tech lab, I must make tanks and or cyclones or Thors, but it's like, you can still make widow mines. I think we're kind of stuck in this mindset, you know, that since we have reactors, you know, we can't make siege tanks. We have to make widow mines and hellions. But it's not true for the tech lab, right? You can still make widow mines, and widow mines do have a smaller build time. It's been, I think, a year now or something like that. They have a shorter build time, so you can just rush out for those 6 siege tanks, which is amazing. Such a strong unit on this map. Get a really nice mass there. I think 6 siege tanks is pretty much the ideal amount. 4 siege tanks in the mid game is very nice. 6 siege tanks is perfect in my opinion, because as soon as you start going up to 8 siege tanks, then you're starting to you know, not quite have enough army in your main bio ball. You're slightly more kind of vulnerable to air switches. I think 6 siege tanks with a lot of widow mines is gonna be really, really strong. Maybe, you know, 8 siege tanks, sure, but like the other siege tanks would be defensive somewhere else. But yeah. So you can just rush up to those 6 siege tanks in a minute and a half. That's not a lot of time. And then just switch to mass widow mines really, really fast. Eventually, I do think you go for 3 factories, which is fantastic versus, I think, later on in the game. Once you reach your 8 barracks, I think next thing should be like an extra starport and an extra factory. That'd be amazing. And yeah. This Thor is so useless. Look at it. Oh my god. Look at the value on that Thor, baby. I'm so glad we made it. Good shit. So you can definitely be a little bit more patient on this map and just build up your siege tank down just a little bit slower and just take your time. All right, widow mines everywhere. I love it. Are we going into? Okay, no. We're not quite into the Marauder phase yet, but we're gonna be soon into it. I think as soon as these finish, we're going into Marauders. I guess like a good indicator is like when you're making the tech labs on your extra barracks, right? Number 6, 7, 8. You should be thinking, okay, I'm gonna be making tech labs. Oh, sorry, I'm gonna be making tech labs to make more Marauders, right? So while you have Marauders in your mind, go grab concussive shells. Hell yeah. When you see mass banelings like this, one of the things I don't think you've done this game, and I love to see these micro moves, but we're gonna see it very soon, I think, though, because you're starting Marauder production. Yeah. So what I would have loved to see here, and for the rest of this game, really, as soon as you see like he's trying to, you know, attack some of your bio with banelings, practice your marine pullback, because now you know you're started stepping with everything. You have very good splits, but you know, like banelings are so shit versus Marauders, right? If you can somehow get that, it would be amazing. I think every single time you see banelings coming at you, like almost right here, you know, just pull back some of the marines. There's so many situations. I think just pure marine pullback is really good. I think this is gonna be a really good situation right here. Yeah, right here you siege the tanks. Cool. Banelings coming at you. There's already widow mines. Cool. Just pull back the marines. Right. Utilize the beefiness and the armor attribute of the Marauders against the banelings. And if you had concussive shells, you would have even picked off banelings on the retreat. Like, yeah. Oh my god, right here, another just pure pullback on the marines here would have been amazing. You would have had the Marauders not only soaking damage, but what's awesome is that once since he's kind of like move commanding, right, and, like trying to maybe get to your marines, they're all going to clump up again, which is going to be really good for the widow mines. If he had lings and everything, the lings would start, you know, attacking the Marauders, which means that once they're attacking the Marauders, they kind of stand still and they also clump, which is really good for widow mines as well. This would have been a really good pure marine pullback. I think it would be such a great thing for you to practice right now. You know, every single time you kind of see the opportunity with mass banelings and you have some Marauders, just purely pull back the marines. and if he has pure Banelings, he's gonna have no choice to retreat or blow up on all your Marauders. 100%. And kind of like what Hoshi said, you know, you weren't patient enough, and it took you a while to like get to a really good tank count. That's probably because you were on one factory for a very long time, you know. Like remember, like if you continuously produce siege tanks, you got 6 siege tanks in a minute 30. Like that's pretty fast. Pretty fast. Very good. Multitask right now. And you see like siege tanks in this position, like, oh my god, a siege tank here. Oh my Jesus. Siege tank here. Oh my Jesus. Siege tank. This siege tank is amazing right now. Look at that. It covers everything around here. Every single time there's like a corner to turn, that's where like a siege tank is good. And there's so many corners on this map. Beautiful. I don't know if you target fired that, but oh my god. Using planetaries to target fire Banelings, exquisite. Exquisite. Very well done. Excellent. Look at this. Be careful with the siege tanks. Be mindful of the siege tanks. Siege tank here. Cool. Siege tank maybe high ground. Or siege tank here even. Siege tank here. Siege tank here. Oh, so good. Such amazing positions on this map. All in slightly vulnerable positions, but I think it's fine. Yep. Nice. So yeah, I think you're starting to make ghosts. I don't know if ghosts are necessary with this amount of lurkers. I think it's starting to. I think as soon as there's like 4 more lurkers, you can start making ghosts. But I mean, unless he's going like a lot of hydras and a lot of and like a whole bunch of lurkers, you know, you can take your time getting ghosts. It depends on the state of the game. Yeah, just drop that academy anyway, because you're gonna be prepared to do the transition if you need to. So yeah, good job. Getting cloaked as well. I like it. I think the final point I wanted to get in this game, I think it's coming soon though. Oh well, that's fine. You know, it's also why it's so cool. Like, if you siege here, it's defensive, and if you siege literally a screen later, it's offensive. Like, tanks are so good on this map. It's amazing. You know. Alrighty, this is the last nitpick I'm going to have about this game. Your army's starting to get too complex here now. Complexity of army kind of depends on the situation of the game, of course, but like here's not much creep, so I guess it's kind of fine. Yeah, you scan this and like it's such easy tank positions right now. What I don't like here too much, especially if you wanted this ahead, is the fact that you have Widow Mines, Liberators, tanks, and ghosts, and a Bio Ball to keep an eye on. I don't care how good you are. That's a little bit too complex. And when I say complex, I mean difficult to control in the moment. Unless you pre-siege tanks way in advance, you pre-siege the, either the Widow Mines may be more in advance, and then you use the Ghosts and Liberators in one at the same time. I think if you can have definitely a main Bio Ball that you can control, plus 2 other things at the same time. Normally that's Ghosts and Liberators. Or, it can be tank Widow Mine. It can be kind of all those things. I think microing your main Bio Ball and 2 more units, I think it's very doable. I think it takes skill for sure. But I think anything above that, where you have to micro 3 things that need to siege or use abilities on top of your Bio Ball, in this case you have 4 tanks, Widow Mines, Ghosts, and Liberators. I think you're pushing yourself a little bit too much, and you're putting yourself in a kind of vulnerable position to throw the game, because mistakes will happen, and it's just so hard to do all that. So if you are going to be using a more complex army, make sure most of the siege units are maybe already sieged to make your life a little bit easier, because you're not going to siege all those things at the same time while splitting your Bio Ball while using your Ghost. That's not going to happen. So yeah, the more complex army you've got, the more you got to take things slow, which is why a lot of the times, when we used to have Widow Mine, Ghost, Liberator in TvZ, those would be very slow move outs. And, the more complex your army is, I think the slower you got to go about it. Right now you're kind of just rushing in, you're losing some of the units, it's fumbling around, but yeah. All in all, very nice. Why don't we have a wall here yet, kids? Jesus. Yeah, sensor towers right now, awesome. They cover so much of the map, especially on small maps, right? Yeah, very nice. Very good macro. Expansions are on point, I have to say. Cool, cool. I think once you start to have Widow Mines, or Liberators, like, you can, there's some point where I think you can cut Widow Mine production, honestly. And just go for an even bigger Bio Ball. Alright, I think this is game. Awesome. 30-minute video. Fun shit. Look at that. You can't do everything at the same time. Pre-siege your tanks. They have so many good spots. Pre-siege your Widow Mines. Get a little bit more prepared. Obviously, you're infinitely ahead, so it's fine. But, like, you know what I mean right there? Like, you couldn't do everything at once, and I think you got to recognize it as well. So when you have a complex army, just, you can move in a lot more slower, take your time a little bit more, make sure all those units are efficient, because that's why you're making them, is because they're such efficient units, right? They're such complex, very strong units on their own, but they require control, they require setup, so you got to take the time to do those setups when you're about to push into a certain place. Yeah, all right, thanks very much. This has been a very high-level game. A lot of more technical stuff to talk about, but it's been fun. All right, see you later.